This global financial event presents economic danger for those unaware and an epic opportunity for those prepared. According to an urgent new Swiss America report, The Great Convergence of 2017, it is free. All you're going to do is call 800-289-2646. It's simple. You call 800-289-2646. I trust Swiss America. They've been with me from the beginning. Don't wait. Get The Great Convergence of 2017, a vital 6-page special report in time to take the steps necessary to protect your hard-earned savings and investments. Do it now. Why risk everything? Just call 1-800-289-2646, 800-289-2646, or visit SwissAmerica.com.
Stop.
I wish this bag under my eye would just go away. Well, if that sounds like you every morning, I'm sorry you're not alone. You see, bags and puffiness under the eyes are a problem for millions of American men and women, unless you use Genucel, the plant stem cell treatment from Chamonix. Then, ladies and gentlemen, the bags and puffiness will go away. Susan from New Jersey wrote this: I've been using Genucel for a couple of months. The puffiness around my eyes, it's gone. Even the crow's feet and small lines have disappeared and haven't come back. I love your product. I use it under my eyes, around my cheekbones, and on my eyelids. Not only Susan, folks. Others I know have been using Genucel for the past few years and their eyes have never looked better. The best part is the product works instantly. And with its instant effects, you'll see results in the first 12 hours or you get your money back. I guarantee it. Call 800-SKIN-891. That's 800-SKIN-891. Plus, right now during the Chamonix Spring Clearance event, Chamonix will give you an instant $50 coupon while supplies last. So call 800-SKIN-891. 800-SKIN-891. That's 800-SKIN-891.
You're listening to Michael Savage. Coming up at 3, it's Mark Levin on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
We're always talking about medicine, you know. We all need medicine, that's the truth. And we'll get back to the story we're talking about. But I've told you prescription medicine costs vary across the map. And insurance isn't always your best bet. With GoodRx, you can stop paying too much for your prescriptions. GoodRx is an easy way for Americans to save up to 80% on their prescriptions. In fact, most people save at least 49% off of the retail price. It doesn't matter if you're a liberal or a conservative. GoodRx is for you, and it's easy to use. They even used my name. Just text GoodRx 466379 and enter the code SAVAGE. Then you type in the name of your prescription and your zip code. Now look, while GoodRx is not insurance, GoodRx prices often beat insurance prices. Don't go to the pharmacy without checking drug prices at GoodRx first. GoodRx saves you money. It's totally free. No membership required. No need to supply personal info. And to see how you can start saving money on your prescriptions, and that's a big deal today, just text GoodRx 466379, enter code SAVAGE. That's GoodRx 466379 on your mobile phone, code SAVAGE. What have you got to lose? Nothing, just money to save. Check out GoodRx for your prescription now. It's so simple. Simply text GoodRx 466379, enter the code SAVAGE. Please try it today. Don't wait. Go to GoodRx today. Victoria on WFTL in Florida. Great station, great city. What's on your mind down there, Victoria?
Thank you, Dr. Savage, for taking my phone call. I have to say, I think your country, it's just, last week you spoke about grief, and I wanted to call because the vet from Jacksonville, her dog, had been diagnosed with cancer. I knew in my heart that something was not wrong or right with my German Shepherd. I rescued a very sick German Shepherd. Prior to that, 18 months of being a full-time employee, working hard, traveling on business, and taking care of a sick mother who was diagnosed overnight with leukemia. When she passed November 1st, she listened to you every single day at 3 o'clock, and now I do, just to feel tethered to her in some sort of fashion. And she always listened to you, admired you, and respected you. And when she passed November 1st, she, was voting for Trump, wanted Trump. We were able to, at hospice, get her...
Victoria, I only have 30 seconds left. I'm sorry, can you just summarize at this point? I don't mean to cut you off.
No problem, I understand. So the dog this week was diagnosed with a bone marrow cancer, leukemia as well. We believe that
like your mother, the same as your mother?
A bone marrow gastric cancer, but essentially...
Oh, now you're not suggesting the dog picked it up from your mom, are you?
Really rung a bell because the vet, who's a very good...
I know, who knows? I'm saying, by the way, I study disease entities. I'm an epidemiologist by training. Ask any doctor who really knows medicine. A lot of it is unknown.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture, and here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Interesting in the world than my book Trump's War, but I am remiss to speak about it for want of your displeasure. I do not want your displeasure, and people will really somehow get mad at you if you talk about your book. It's in every bookstore, especially Barnes & Noble up front in a little rack of its own. It is the plan to save America, and whether the president has read any of it or not, I don't know. I know I sent him a signed copy 3 weeks ago via someone who's close to him, and I'm sure that at some point he will look at this book, and at some point he'll understand that you have to sort of rely upon thinkers in order to create policy. I've thought very carefully for many years about borders, language, and culture, but as I outline in Trump's War, there are many, many battles to be fought. Obamacare, yeah, that's the current battle. War for our borders, yeah. Culture wars, no one talks about the culture wars. What is culture? Do we have any left after what Hollywood has done to this world? Where academia is now poisoning our culture, pornography is poisoning our culture. Why is there no discussion of the culture wars? Trump's war to restore the military? He's on the road to saving the military by refunding it. People say, well, what's wrong with the military? Larry King said, isn't the military great? I was on a show today. I said, no, it's not great, Larry. I said 50% of our airplanes cannot fly, of our fighter jets on aircraft carriers, because Obama destroyed the funding. The armament, maintenance is not there. No, we have to restore the military. But way beyond that, which Trump's going to do, I call for restoring the purged officers. No one's talked about that yet. Obama purged many officers above the captain level and replaced them with incompetence, with incompetent officers, not battle-hardened. They're political officers, the way the KGB used to put an officer in every division. I don't know if you know this, but during the Cold War, the Russians, I should say the Soviets, put a KGB political officer on every submarine and every naval ship. And that KGB officer's job was to make sure all of the crew members were politically in tune with the Communist Party. Anyone who stepped out of line was reported to Central Headquarters. Does it sound like a university today? Yeah. Does it sound like a government office today? You betcha. We've got to purge the military of these evil KGB officers that Obama put in there. Restoring the purged officers is in the book. That's just the beginning of it, but Trump's war against the rhinos, real science, First Amendment, Second Amendment, deep state, battle plan, all there. Carefully thought out. It will be my last political book. He said that before. I told you the deal was, the publisher said, we want to do your God book, but in order to do it, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. They said, can you rush out a Trump book? Sure, I got nothing to do 24 hours a day for the next 7 weeks. Well, here it is. It's a great plan. If Trump had asked me to do this, you know, if Donald Trump had said to me January 1st, hey, Savage, listen, can you write a plan for me to follow for the next 4 to 8 years? It couldn't be better than what I did here in all these chapters. It would have been exactly the brief I would have given him. 13. I said, here, Mr. President, here it is. I think maybe one day he and I will talk about it when things settle down a little bit. That's all. So it's an amazing book. It's well done. It's brilliant. And I think Donald Trump should consider my assertions. And that's about it. Let's see. There's great reviews on Amazon. People love the book. The haters haven't yet gotten up with their hate yet. I love that people don't read the book and write the hate literature on Amazon. Well, the world's full of them. But they seem to love the other one. The Liar on MSNBC. Macho Red Cow. I mean, Macho Red Cow they love. She wrote a book, How I Hate Trump and Hate America. It'd be a bestseller. Hating America by Macho Red Cow, as endorsed by Tom Brokaw and Dan Rather. All the fake news you can possibly regurgitate. Disease transference. I told a crazy story last hour. Unfortunately, it was true. And I have a great caller on it. Just let me summarize the story because not everyone listens all 3 hours. I finished the show, got in the car, went down near the Golden Gate Bridge. That's in San Francisco, if you don't know where that is. Took a walk with the dog, came back, sitting in the car, going on my iPhone. I hear a dog yipping next to the car, like whining a little. So I look over, the man picks his dog up. It was like a little ragamuffin, looked like Teddy. And Teddy came to the window and they started licking each other and kissing each other. I love dogs because, you know, dogs bring out the beauty and kindness in all of us. Only evil, mean, low-life scum kick dogs. Evil people hurt dogs. This guy loved his dog. I love my dog. So we started to talk. He said, oh, your dog's name is Teddy. You must be Michael. I said, yeah. He said, I may be your only gay conservative listener in Sausalito. I said, I don't think so. I said, you're not as alone as you may think you are. And he said, well, you know, we went on, and we got to, you know, talked up a storm. And his dog, I put Teddy down. My dog played with his dog. He and I talked. And as I said, he unfortunately told me a sad story. You know, people open up to me. If they're human beings, they open up to me. And he told me his partner, 15 years recently, died. And the dog's a little freaked out. I said, well, what happened? I shouldn't have cried, but I did. He said, I went with my mother to Las Vegas. I left my dog with my partner. My partner had been depressed and had a thyroid condition. And he said, we came back. He had hung himself. And the dog was there with him for 3 days, dead in the closet. Not the dog, the man. She said, strangely enough, after my partner was cremated, he said, my dog developed a disease. I said, what disease? He said, a thyroid condition. So I raised the question of, I call it transference. We know there's transference in the human condition. We know that. There are Satanists who can transfer evil onto us. There are saints who can transfer good things onto us. We're like tuning forks, which is why religion is so important, to teach us right from wrong, to teach us about God, which is why a real education is so important, to teach us right from wrong, good from bad. Do you understand that? How important all of these things are with tuning forks. Our children have been said to be like little pitchers who can only receive. They're sponges. They don't know anything. We're not hippie liberals who think that our children are geniuses if only we'd leave them alone. Then they can wind up smearing feces on the wall. We're going to call it great art, as they do in Marin County. Oh, honey, don't yell at Junior just because he's smearing feces on the wall. That's a Chagall. No, they don't know anything, children. They have to be taught. So anyway, we don't know. I mean, how did this dog get this disease, I asked. Well, Ed in Colorado on KVOR is calling the Savage Nation right now. Ed, what's your theory on the transference?
I'm not going to ever discount the theory that there is a transference in the spiritual realm, because you and I both know that people can share their heart.
Hold on. Ed, go off the speakerphone. You're echoing. Just give it to us straight.
Well, I was going to say, I'm sorry. what I was going to say is that lysosomes are released by the body. They're a magical little thing that only are released upon death. Whenever a human is declared dead in their home, the coroner is very quick to get there for that very reason. Living organisms, other people can take these lysosomes on, and those lysosomes can possibly fool your system, fool your body into believing that you are dying, probably from the very disease that the individual died from. Now
where did you read about lysosome transfer?
I learned it in a vet tech school. I'm a former vet tech. And
all right, let me explain to the audience what a lysosome is.
Okay.
It's an organelle, a small organ in the cytoplasm of certain cells containing degradative enzymes enclosed in a membrane. Basically, a membrane-bound organelle found in nearly all animal cells. But you're saying that when somebody dies, what happens?
That is when these organelles are operated. They stay dormant in all bodies. That's what causes the decomposition process to begin so fastly. Is that are these organelles? It's a miracle. But I wanted to say this about.
Well, the lysosomes I know from my biology training are the waste disposal system of the cell. And they act by digesting unwanted materials in the cytoplasm, both from outside the cell and obsolete components inside the cell. I know that. But how does that transfer? Because lysosomes are known to contain more than 60 different enzymes. I remember that as well. But how does that transfer to another organism, to a dog, for example?
That would be a great mystery on that part. I would.
So you're just surmising. We don't know if they really transfer, right? All right, I tell you what, I'm going to transfer a copy of Trump's war to you. What do you think about Macho Red Cow's fake tax return story? Does that get you sick?
It makes me laugh every time I think about her. But if I could I get Teddy and me from you?
Oh, you'd rather have Teddy and me? Absolutely. The poor dog is getting over a trauma right now. He's doing very well. He had a little bit of a trauma, but he's doing fine. Yeah, we're going to stay on the line. We'll send you Teddy and me. Great book. Love it. Greatest pictures of Teddy ever taken of a dog in history. People love it. They just love this book. Even liberals love that book because they're human beings and they see I would almost say the humanity in the dog from the pictures Vince Ramini took. You can't say the humanity in the dog. You can see the soul of the dog if you want to put it that way. And they say, oh, dogs have no souls. They're just meat to me. Well, okay, I really don't live in northern China. I don't put them in cages and beat them to death and turn them into a soup. So, no, I'm a little different than that. I think animals do have kind of a soul-like quality to them. What do you want to talk about? Let's stop with the cancer and the leukemia and the transfer death. I'm getting all the depressed. I'm getting all the dark, horrible calls now. Terrible, just horrible now. My mother died of this and my dog died of that. Don't ask what you can get. Can we have some fun today? Something nice? It's already Wednesday of Hell Week. It's going to be over. I can't wait to play the tape for you of the Larry King, and I had so much fun. I keep going on and on about him, and he has an unknown show on Aura Television, on RT Television. So I joked that he's a liberal. So during the interview today, I said, Larry, you were asking me about, what if Russia hacked our election? You like that, Savage? I said, Larry, wait a minute. I ate a Blintz last week. Does that mean I'm a Russian spy? So he has a sense of humor. Okay, at least he can laugh. He had a good sense of humor. He owns a bagel store in Beverly Hills. He invited me to have a bagel with him. That's great. I said, why don't you open a bagel store in Romania? He said, that's anti-Semitic. I said, cut it out. He and I we have quite a rapport. We never met. The guy's 83 years old and he's still out there like a trooper. He's an inspiration to me. So I said to him, listen, hey Larry, in Trump's war I call for a way to save, Trump care. He said, what's that? I said, high-risk pools for high-risk individuals. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, Larry, come on, look at you. You're a guy 83 years old. You're fit. I can see you work out. I see you watch what you eat. Why should you pay the same premium as a junkie who abuses herself? Why should you pay this? He said, well, aren't they entitled to care? I said, no, I'm not so sure they are. I think they're entitled to a minimal amount of care. not a gold-plated kiss my behind care. Every minute, how are you today, Mary? Did you have your drug? Mary, it doesn't work. Mary doesn't work. All she does is score drugs. How are you? Gold-plated care. Who pays for this? What sane society on earth takes care of people who are trying to kill themselves? You know, you want me to talk about cops who have to deal with suicide types, and when a cop has to risk his life to save them? You ever think what cops have to go through to save people who want to die jumping off a bridge? What, is a cop supposed to give his life for some lunatic? I'm not so sure. I'm a little on the Ayn Rand thing here. You know, they want to go, let them jump. That's all. Stop with the hand-holding. And not everybody, not everyone's entitled to gold-plated health care. So he says to me, well, what about if someone's walking across the street and gets hit by a car? I said, anyone who's hit by a car goes into an emergency room. That's a given. I'm talking about high-risk pools for high-risk individuals and high-risk professions. Pay higher premiums. No, he says, the government should pay for everybody's free health care. I said, Larry, stop already. Who's going to pay for that? They have the answers. See, they have the statements but no answers. They don't follow through on the thinking. And the beautiful part is a lot of these people are really well-intentioned, nice people. They mean well. But the road to you-nowhere is paved with good intentions. This is the Savage Nation. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Dr. Michael Savage back. Look, many of you don't know this, but I used to be the director of nutrition for one of the largest health food chains in the country. And I found this product, Super Beets, and it's really one of the most impressive natural functional foods I've seen in my career, and it has to do with blood flow. Beets are loaded with dietary nitrates, which convert into nitric oxide in the body. Super Beets is the easiest way to get these natural dietary nitrates to specifically help with blood flow and circulation. Super Beets works 3 times faster to give you results you can feel. It tastes great. I use Super Beets. I use it every day. I can feel the energy and stamina it gives me within 20 minutes, and I want you to feel it too. Call 800-481-0504. That's 800-481-0504. Or go to SavageLovesBeets.com. You're going to get a 30-day supply for free. It comes with your first order. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. You're also going to get a free book, Beat the Odds, and free shipping on your entire order. You're going to love the results that you feel with your first free canister, guaranteed, or your money back.
Now, more of the Savage Nation on Talk Radio 560, KSFO.
Well, will it be a Dutch treat? That's the question. Or, we don't know. The Dutch are deciding whether to live or die. Either they vote for Geert Wilders, who has long seen the threat to the great nation that he was born in and lives in by the invasion of Muslims, or they will vote to commit suicide, and they will no longer be a people 20 years from now. Same thing here, no different here. Live or die, it's that simple. Trump's war, what do you think it's about? Now, the Republican traitors are the bigger problem. This is interesting. We know that the progs are blocking him at every turn. Schumer, of course, is an obstructionist. You'd expect that from a guy like him. That's all the Democrats do is block, hate, no. That you'd expect. The party of no. But when your own party blocks the president, that tells you more than you really want to know about the situation. But that's exactly what the situation entails. And I described the rhinos and the battle for America and such, and who they are. You know who they are. You think you know who they are? Yeah, say Ryan, Paul Ryan. You say Gobbler, whatever his name is, Mitch McConnell, the Gobbler from Kentucky with the gullet. But there are many others. What can we do about it is the question. There are lots of things we can do about it. McConnell wouldn't be in power were it not for us. Paul Ryan would be running a night basketball school somewhere were it not for us. There's a lot we can do. We're still a great nation. So the interviewer today says to me, isn't America great now? I says, the greatest country on earth. He says, well, aren't there other countries that are great? I said, no, not as great as this country. He said, what are you saying, America right or wrong? And no, I didn't say America right or wrong. I said something else. I said, well, why are you always saying America wrong and wrong? That's all that the progressives say, America wrong and wrong. Macho Radcow, America wrong and wrong and everything. America no good. CNN, America no good. America wrong and wrong. It's not America right or wrong. But they say it's America wrong and wrong, always wrong. And I'm sick of it. I want America back. I want America first. And Donald Trump does too. And that's why we're all fighting the same Trump's war together. Do you get it? If not, get the book. Maybe you'll get it. What's at stake?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. 855-400-7288-SAVAGE.
We all need medicine, but prescription medication costs can really add up. Most people don't know that pharmacy prices vary wildly, and insurance isn't always your best bet. With GoodRx, you can stop paying too much for your prescriptions. GoodRx is an easy way for Americans to save up to 80% on their prescriptions. In fact, most people save at least 49%. GoodRx is easy to use. They even use my name. Just text GoodRx 466379. Enter the code SAVAGE. Type in the name of your prescription and your zip code. While GoodRx is not insurance, GoodRx prices often beat insurance prices. Listen to me, don't go to the pharmacy without checking drug prices at GoodRx first. GoodRx saves you money and is totally free. No membership required, no need to supply personal information. To see how you can start saving money on your prescriptions, just text GoodRx 466379 and enter the code SAVAGE. That's GoodRx 466379 on your mobile phone, code SAVAGE. What have you got to lose? Nothing, just money to save. Aren't you tired of not being able to see the way you did when you were younger? Do you think that you have to be young to have LASIK? The truth is that LASIK isn't just for young people, and many patients in their 50s and 60s are experiencing the joys of LASIK. And that's why you should consider LASIK with Stanford-trained Dr. William Ellis. He's not only my ophthalmologist, personally he's my friend, and I can vouch for his expert skills. Ellis Eye has several convenient locations, including their newest location in San Francisco on Maiden Lane. To celebrate this grand opening, Dr. Ellis is offering my listeners, military or police, a free LASIK evaluation valued at $360 and substantial savings on LASIK surgery. Take advantage of this great offer now by calling 888-691-2296. That's 888-691-2296. Put yourself in the skilled and caring hands of Dr. William Ellis. And remember, you don't have to be young to have LASIK. Call 888-691-2296 and tell him Dr. Savage sent you. EXDEAL.
You're listening to Michael Savage and the Savage Nation on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Savage Nation, and we're dealing with the new Ministry of Truth. Right out of Orwell's time, and in this case, the MSNBC story with Macho Radcow is an example of how distorted and warped these people are in the media. And there's no consequences to their lies. When they get caught lying, when they get caught violating a person's rights, they keep going. So they don't care about democracy. They manufacture crises such as Russia hacked the election. We're supposed to believe Trump is president only because Russian intelligence hacked the DNC email server and basically confirmed what we already knew about Hillary Clinton, that she is an unprincipled, opportunistic liar who cares little for the people who vote for her or what they wanted to do in office. And by the way, when the Russians hacked the DNC server, what else did they find? They found out that the Hillary people were trying to smear Bernie Sanders based on his Jewish heritage. Did you know that? Notice how they swept that under the rug? We don't thank the Russians for exposing the Democrats for being the racist liars that they are. Well, all of this Ministry of Truth material is right out of page 201 of Trump's War. It was prescient. I saw it all. I write about it. It's there. In other words, war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. And we have to push back very hard at any sign Congress is trying to pressure the Trump administration to enforce the unconstitutional provisions of the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, which I describe in great detail. KSFO, Daniel on line 1, what's your topic?
Radioactive iodine, Michael.
Go ahead. I understand you're a PhD in pathology. We love your expertise. What is it?
Well, when I heard that both this gentleman, this poor guy and his dog, had this problem with their thyroid, my first thought went to radioactive iodine. It's a common therapy for hyperthyroidism. It causes hypothyroidism because it destroys the cells of the thyroid.
Okay, but how would the dog have gotten that?
Well, you know, when you're sitting at the table and you're eating your fish, maybe from the tainted waters off Fukushima that made its way across the ocean, or maybe the radiation came here and the fish was swimming around in the tainted waters that we know have become radioactive because we've tested for it off the coast of California and I believe Washington State. If the fish is tainted with radioactive iodine, you eat it and your dog's looking at you with those big eyes. What are you gonna do? Say no? Of course not. You're gonna give your dog some of the food.
Wait, so you're saying this poor man who hung himself may have had the thyroid condition from radioactive foods, which he was also feeding his dog, is what you're saying?
Right, exactly.
Well, that's interesting. Luckily, my dog hates sushi.
Well, that means he's probably safe.
The dog is smarter than most people who live in Marin County. He won't touch the stuff. See, he really doesn't like pinworms. So I guess they like pinworm sushi here in Marin County. They can't get enough of it.
Exactly.
But do you eat seafood at all?
Very little. I eat a can.
So what, are you a vegan, or have you gone back to your father's meat and potato diet?
No, I'm more vegan than I can't say I'm a full vegan. Every so often I go out and have meat, but I eat very little. In fact, I eat so little meat that I have to supplement with iron every so often because my iron.
You know, I find that I need more meat than ever. And it's there's a number of enzymes and amino acids in meat that are unmatched, by the way, even in supplements. And
I agree.
Unfortunately, we have, I know people who don't eat meat, but very seldomly, and then when they do, they have so much energy, they feel so much stronger.
Sure. I mean, they did this with kids. They had, the vegans who fed their kids vegan diets, and the kids died. Some of them got sick. A lot of them suffered anemia. There were a lot of vitamin deficiencies. Meat is...
Absolutely. You see the poor kids today, you see the mothers giving them these diets. There's no nutrients in them, very few nutrients, especially the essential amino acids. They're deficient in these diets. And I worry the children's mental development is stunted because their brains are not being fed. Yeah, that's what you're talking about. I'll give you an example from my children when they were growing up. My children ate a well-rounded American diet, a lot of chicken, a lot of fish, some meat, the regular stuff. Very carefully. I was very into organic food even 40 years ago. I wrote books on nutrition, so I was very careful with what I fed them. But I was not a vegetarian. I knew children needed to eat, a lot of animal protein. Well, if we'd have kids over from other families whose mothers were vegetarians at that time, the minute the mother would turn her back, those other kids would try to grab the chicken off my kids' plates. They were just like, they were starving children. And when they'd see the chicken, their eyes would light up and their mouths would water. They'd try to rob the chicken leg. They were dying for it. I mean, we observed it with our own eyes. Children are carnivores by nature.
And they know what they need. And they go after
they don't always know what they need. I mean, the fact of the matter is that children can be conditioned to like certain foods that are bad for them. They will eat sugar endlessly if you let them, or they'll take on high doses of sodium if you let them, if you feed them sodium-rich diets, and we avoided that like the plague. It's one of the great plagues in America, sodium-rich diets. Back in the 70s, by the way, there was a whole big thing about African Americans and hypertension, and I remember they weren't afraid to say it. May have been related to the diets that were known as soul food diets at that time. People weren't afraid to say it. They weren't called racist if they were doctors looking at cause and effect. So they advised African Americans with high blood pressure to avoid ethnic foods called soul foods because they were too rich in salt. No one screamed racist at the doctor, right? How times have changed, hey, Daniel?
Well, yeah. But there's also a problem with their physiology, too, because they grew up in areas where it was very hot. they would sweat out a lot of sodium. They had actually decreased in the level of atrial natriuretic peptide that it's found pretty commonly in African Americans, and because of that, they tend to suffer hypertension because they retain too much sodium because they're in desert environments.
All right. Well, that's a little generalization here. Now, all African Americans don't live in desert environments. Come on now.
Well, that's true. I understand that.
You're saying, oh, it's like analyzing it from a long ethnological point of view. You could do the same with a Native American. Why do so many Native Americans get diabetes? That's a fascinating subject, which I bet you've studied. And I was fascinated to learn many, many years ago that the American Indian, who's also generally known as great long-distance runners, were raised in environments where they had to metabolize sugar at a very slow rate for long-distance hunting missions, long-distance missions of war, and they metabolized, blood sugar at a very slow rate in order to maintain these stores of blood glucose. Well, now if you throw into that wonderful evolved being high doses of sucrose, you screw up the entire system, and they wind up going on tilt in essence and getting diabetes. I'm sure you've read that story yourself.
They also said that it's likely that because of the environment that basically they didn't have a lot of sugar in their diets, so they basically got used to that. They've evolved to have lower levels of sugar in their diets, and they basically can handle that. But once you introduce it, and before it wasn't there, and now it is, that creates a lot of... Well,
especially alcohol. This is what destroyed so many Native American people, because you talk about quick doses of sugar that destroy their metabolism. It doesn't get any worse than alcohol. And of course, their bodies were not adapted for it because they made for burning slow sugars at a slow rate, not high doses of sucrose conversions or glucose conversions at a very high rate. It's like putting rocket fuel into an engine that's not made for it, in plain English. Hey, you're fascinating, Daniel. What do you do for a living? You're a pathologist or retired?
Well, I just finished, basically I was doing work in Newark, New Jersey, wonderful town, and finished up a research associate job there, and now I'm writing books. My first book is going to come out soon. I'm finishing it up on aging.
Oh, wait a minute. You can't be hired as a teacher because you're white? Is that the problem?
Well, it's hard. You know what? I actually got a position as an associate or assistant professor on the tenure track, but you know what? There were so many people there was so much hostility that I left.
Oh my God, just based on your race, that you're a white male?
Yeah, in part, yeah. There were a lot of other things going on.
Well, Daniel, let me just give you some hope. Let me give you some hope. The vermin on the left denied me access to academia, which is all I wanted. And as a result, I had to dig deeper into myself and do something deeper. And here I am 22 years later with a fabulous career as a writer and as a broadcaster. And so if you don't give up and you keep fighting, you're going to win eventually, Daniel. I'm sending you a copy of Trump's War to keep up the battle politically as well as everything else. This is great. I love the diversions. WABC Stan, we have a health physicist on the line right now. Stan, what's your topic?
Yeah, I just wanted to, it's a pleasure to talk to you, Dr. Savage.
Thank you.
In response to the previous
Stan, go ahead, please. Your phone's breaking up. What is it you wanted to say on radioactive iodine?
Not possible from Fukushima, in a nutshell. I got a bad connection, I apologize.
No, now I hear you. Why is it not possible from Fukushima radiation in seafood?
Well, by the time it reaches our shores, it's well diluted. The radioactive iodine of concern 131 is not, got a very short half-life, and concentrations required to get sick or any kind of a pathology from radioactive material is just...
Okay. Well, I never worried about Fukushima radiation in foods, truthfully. I don't eat sushi for another reason. Raw fish contains pinworms. Very often, that little piece of tuna fish in sushi, the uncooked fish, is infested with pinworms, and I don't eat it for that reason.
Oh man, that's it. I'm off sushi.
No, I'm telling you, raw fish. This whole thing with raw fish is insanity. If I get fish in a restaurant and they cook it now like the cooking school idiots, pink in the middle, I send it back and said, I didn't ask for sushi. Give me a piece of fish that's cooked. Well, that's the way he serves it. I said, who's paying for it, me or the cook? Tell the idiot to cook it so there's no pink in it. I don't eat fish with any pink left in it at all. It's just like I won't eat raw. Do you eat raw meat? When you go to a restaurant, what's that dish where you eat raw meat? You have a name for it? I don't know what it's called. Who would eat raw meat? Do you know how risky that is? There's a name for raw meat, Robert. Do you know what it's called? Yeah, the French eat it. That's why the society got ruined. Anyway, thanks for the call. You're getting Trump's war in the mail. This is the Savage Nation. Phone number is 855-47282. What is the name of that food where you eat like raw beef that people like to eat? They think it's got enzymes in it. All of the hipsters when they eat meat. Well, I eat meat raw. Do you have any idea they're killing themselves? You know, Claude Lévi-Strauss was a great anthropologist, and he wrote a book called The Raw and the Cooked, for those of you who studied anthropology. Well, years ago when I was an anthropologist, I had to read The Raw and the Cooked. I had to read Lévi-Strauss's great book, The Savage Mind of all things, it was in French called La Pensée Sauvage. I told you, steak tartare. But Lévi-Strauss wrote in his book, The Raw and the Cooked, that man evolved as a civilized creature when he went from the raw food to the cooked food. The definition of civilization was defined by fire. And fire permitted man to evolve. And that's where cooked food came in. You say, wow, I didn't know that. So when you're eating raw food, you think you're doing yourself a favor. You're not. You're reverting back to some primal form of civilization that may not be better for your health. In fact, it may put you at risk in many ways. Just a little snippet, along the way, part of the vast knowledge of Michael Savage. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Hey, Savage Nation, I've got big news for you. News you won't hear about anywhere else. A major economic event will take place on or before March 31st, which could have a devastating effect on every dollar you have invested or in savings. Did you hear me? March 31st. This global financial event presents economic danger for those unaware and an epic opportunity for those prepared. According to an urgent new Swiss America report, The Great Convergence of 2017, it is free. All you're going to do is call 800-289-2646. It's simple. You call 800-289-2646. I trust Swiss America. They've been with me from the beginning. Don't wait. Get The Great Convergence of 2017, a vital 6-page special report in time to take the steps necessary to protect your hard-earned savings and investments. Do it now. Why risk everything? Just call 1-800-289-2646, 800-289-2646, or visit SwissAmerica.com. This is going to sound like a horror story, but for some people, it's a reality during tax season. Now imagine you head to the mailbox after doing your taxes, you reach in, discard all the junk mail, and then pull out the item you've been waiting for so long, only to get a huge shock someone's already filed for your return. You probably didn't know that identity thieves could use your personal information to file for your refund or commit other forms of ID theft. In fact, the IRS identified approximately $4.1 billion in suspected identity theft tax refund fraud in 2016. Thankfully, though, there's LifeLock. With LifeLock, you have access to a team of U.S.-based specialists who know the steps to take and the calls to make to fix identity issues, whether it happens during tax season or any other time. Of course, no one can prevent all identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses. Join now and get 10% off by using promo code SAVAGE. Call 1-800-LifeLock or head to lifelock.com, promo code SAVAGE. That's SAVAGE, and you save 10% now at lifelock.com.
Now back to Michael Savage on Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Welcome back. Look, here's an ugly truth. How many times have you looked in the mirror and said, oh yeah, I wish this bag under my eye would just go away? You're not alone. Bags and puffiness under the eyes are a problem for millions of American men and women. You're not alone. Because what you do is you go and you get Genucell. It's the plant stem cell treatment I've been telling you about from Chamonix. And then, ladies and gentlemen, No bags, no puffiness. Listen to Susan from New Jersey. She wrote this. I've been using Genucel for a couple of months. The puffiness around my eyes is gone. Even the crow's feet and small lines have disappeared and haven't come back. I love your product. I use it under my eyes, around my cheekbones, and on my eyelids. Not only Susan, folks, people in my family have been using it for years, and believe me, they're very happy with the results. The best part is the product works instantly. And with its instant effects, you'll see results in the first 12 hours, or you get your money back, period. I guarantee it. Call now and you'll save big on Genucel's risk-free, limited-time offer. Call 800-SKIN-891. That's 800-SKIN-891. Plus, right now during the Chamonix Spring Clearance Event, Chamonix will give you an instant $50 coupon while supplies last. It's simple. Call 800-SKIN-891. 800-SKIN-891. It's not just for ladies. Men too. Call 800-SKIN-891. This is the Savage Nation. The phone number is 855-400-7282. What is in the news? Well, there's a lot of stuff in the news that you may not see or may not have heard about. Secretly, and I think just recently, today, they're sending another 1,000 troops to Syria. Remember last week I told you I have a friend who's a highly decorated Vietnamese or a combat veteran, Silver Star, great man. I go to him for all my military advice. He said to me that sending 500 troops into Syria smelled like 1964 to him all over again. How we got sucked into Vietnam. He said the same thing is happening again. I said, oh no, not again. Well, now we learned they've just escalated from 500 to 1,000 U.S. troops. My friends, this is how wars start. This is how quagmires begin. So you say, well, what's the solution to wiping out ISIS? I'm sorry to tell you there are solutions to that as well. But you don't want to hear it. It's liable to offend the rad cows of the world, who think that everyone will love us if we just got out of everywhere on the earth. And if we brought more of the murderers in, we'd even be happier. But no, that's not the way the world works. There are people who want to eat your lunch and eat your child's lunch, and breakfast and dinner. No, it doesn't work that way. That's what borders are for. That's what a national identity is for. And unfortunately, war is ugly. War is hell. And that's what airplanes and bombers were invented for. That's what cruise missiles were invented for. They were invented so that your son, meaning not your son, you progressives, you don't have sons. See, they don't have any sons. They want other sons to die for their sins. And I don't. Not one American life should be lost in this coming war. If they could be avoided, the answer is high-altitude bombing, cruise missiles, Tomahawk missiles from ships. We know where they live. We know their training centers. We know where they hide. That's the answer to it. If we had used the rules of engagement that Obama has been using, you'd be speaking German, or you'd be a lampshade. Obama had a chance to wipe out ISIS, but instead he gave them weapons through third-party sources. Obama created the greatest surveillance state in the history of the world. Only you don't know it because of the macho rad cows of the world who made him into a god. Trump is our only salvation. He's the president. He was elected. Let him do his job. Don't stab him in the back. Help fight Trump's war. This is Michael Savage. Back in a minute.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Talk Radio 560 KSFO.
Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture, and here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
It is the Savage Nation. We're talking about many things in the news. The evidence that fake news exists was exhibited on a silver platter last night when the circus freak Rachel Radcow. Yeah, Rachel Radcow is better than Mad Cow because she is a rat cow. Yeah, let's call her Rachel Radcow. She's a radical cow. Does that offend you? It's too bad. So Radcow claims that this tax return story was going to be, mind-bending, breaking news. And she reads it and he pays a higher tax rate than her own company did. Obama paid 19%. Sanders the commie paid 13%. And I don't know how they keep these people on the air. It's beyond belief when there's such a war against the entire Trump family. They are fake news. Clearly fake news. It's the tax return. I mean, what can you say about it? Did you ever expect NBC to report news accurately? The peacock lost its feathers a long time ago. Do I need to say more than Tom Brokaw used to be with NBC? Where is he today? He's teaching journalism in a junior high school somewhere in Texas, I hear. So where is NBC today? Nowhere. They've reduced themselves to having circus clowns on their network disguised as commentators. And what did they discover? What did they disclose? I mean, really big deal, A breathless disclosure about Donald Trump's tax returns. She looks just like a character from the 50s, by the way, called Arnold Stang. Does anyone know who I'm talking about? Rachel Madcow. Why does she look like Arnold Stang? No one knows who he is. Those of you who do know who he is know that she's a dead ringer for him. Trump paid a higher tax rate at 25%. Then the company that broadcast this circus clown, MSNBC, did 24%. Obama paid 19%, and the communist Bernie Sanders paid 13%. Donald Trump paid $38 million on $150 million in income. If this was a legitimate network, which it never has been, she would not have a job today for having done a thing like this. Even her sister network, CNBC, turned on the circus freak. Okay, that's what you do when you're desperate for ratings. You come up with a story that isn't. So where do I turn for my news? This is an interesting question. If this show is based on commentary, which is based upon, let's say, the news to some extent, and then real-life events to another extent. Oh, I have a great story to tell you. What happened last night? No, not the restaurant story. I'm not talking about it. So many things happen in my life. I don't lead a very quiet life. I try to. But, so anyway, I did the show. The book Trump's War was not on the Drudge Report. I was a little disappointed. I didn't say anything. I really go to the Drudge Report before any other site, to be frank with you. I've told you that before. For my news, everyone does. It is the #1 site in the media. It's ranked #2 in views in the media, tops Google, Yahoo, New York Times, Washpost, BuzzFeed, and HuffPost. But the point is, I go to the Drudge Report. He has the best connections there and the best headlines. So I thought maybe the book would be up, and it wasn't. I didn't complain. I didn't send the, whiny little messages asking. I figured, it's his site, he'll do what he wants. So after the show, I needed to unwind a little bit yesterday. It's been very tense. This is like the hell week of radio when a book comes out. Shows before shows, after shows. I got in my old car and I took Teddy because it was like unnaturally hot out here. It's like summer yesterday and the day before. So I go to a certain place near the Golden Gate Bridge, I won't say where, to take a long walk alone because I collect myself, my thoughts. Dog likes it. I smell the ocean air down there. I'm standing there, sitting with the dog in the car after the walk. It's really beautiful. And my mind's getting clear on many things. And I hear a dog yapping next to my car. Here's Teddy barking. And a dog is whining. And an owner comes up to my window on the right side. It's an Asian gentleman with a little dog that looked like Teddy, but a little more raggedy. And he smiles at me. I said, Teddy, calm down. The guy says, his name is Teddy, so you must be... I said, yes. So he says, I'm your only gay conservative listener in Sausalito. I said, no, you're not alone. They make you think you're alone. So he and I struck up the greatest conversation. It turns out, I don't know if I'm giving anything away. He's such a nice guy. He's a member of the local Outrigger Canoe Club, and they all had their boats there. They were going to go rowing under the bridge. He invited me to come rowing with them another time and this and that. So we start to talk, through the car window. And he says to me that he lost his partner of 15 years recently, and he's, this and that. I said, that must have been terrible. It must have been hard. So he says to me, it is very hard, 15 years. He said, but there's more to the story than this. He said, I'm not giving anything away because no one knows his name. He said, my partner had a thyroid condition and he was very depressed. Listen to what I'm saying, thyroid condition. He goes away to Las Vegas with his mother, this guy tells me, for 2 or 3 days and leaves his dog with his partner. He comes back, his partner had hung himself. And the dog had been alone with his partner, dead, in a closet for 3 days. Are you listening to this horrible story? I mean, it's a horror story. But listen to this. This is an amazing story. So he said the dog showed signs of illness after the guy died, his partner. And he took him to the vet. They did an examination. He said, Michael, take a guess what illness my dog got all of a sudden. I said, I don't know. He said, a thyroid condition. I said, I've got to tell the story on the radio tomorrow. It's as though there was some transference from your partner to the dog during those 3 long days that your partner was hanging there in the closet. I mean, this is an odd story in many ways. I understand that I'm just kind of trying to figure this out. How does a dog's 14 years old, or 12, how does a dog suddenly pick up a thyroid condition that he didn't have after a guy hangs himself in front of the dog and hangs there for 3 days? I'm sorry, this is an interesting story to me. It's more interesting than Trump's war, to be frank with you. And this is what I like to do, which is, mix up the news, politics with real life 101. Because I don't know how many of you know this. I have a tremendous knack for picking up stories from people. I have since I've been a child. People trust me and they come up to me. And they tell me things that they normally wouldn't tell other people. It's not like a confessional, but I have a way of talking to people that is very real. What do you make of that story? Anyway, I don't know if you want to talk about that one, but anyone can figure that one out. How does a dog get a thing like that? So we got the mad cow story, or the cow, we're calling it a rad cow, not rad cow. Matchel rad cow. Rad cow fits her better. You heard it first on the Savage Nation. Matchel rad cow. I like that better. Names are important. You call a person a name, you never know what might happen. And you also don't know what might happen after you call that person a name. In the long run, there's boomerang effects that go on and on and on, and you never know how you're going to get stung with your own words. That's the truth. That's the truth with all of this stuff. But MSNBC and NBC now are absolutely exposed for the fake newsmakers that they've always been. Need we say more? I have laid out a battle plan for victory in Trump's war. It's a phenomenal architectural plan, chapter by chapter. And I knew what would happen. I knew that Trump, even toward the end of the campaign, before the election, as we saw movement toward liberalism, I said even if we get 50% of what he promises, that's 150% more than we would have gotten under Hillary. Then I changed it and said if we get only 20% of what Trump promised, it's 120% more than what Hillary would have done to us or would have given us. So I'm very happy with Donald Trump as president. Don't get me wrong. I mean, please don't get me wrong. But he has a huge war against the enemies within. He has an economic war. He has a war to repeal Obamacare, which, by the way, is interesting. It's Chapter 3. Trump's war to repeal Obamacare. You want some expertise on it? It's right there, Chapter 3. Trump's war for our borders, Chapter 4. 5, culture wars. 6, restore the military. Chapter 7, Trump's war against the war machine, in which I write about the liberal warmongers, the neocons, the war profiteers. Chapter 8, Trump's war against the rhinos, the party versus the people, Republican trade traders, a wall or a fence or a virtual wall. And there are other chapters which you'll hear about in the coming days, so that we never forget what he promised us, and we never forget what we demanded of him. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? As slowly we see the deck chairs being rearranged on the Titanic called the USS America, many of us will soon forget what it is we voted Donald Trump to do, what we wanted him to do. But I didn't. Trump's war is like an elephant's memory of promises and, let us say, hopes, all in one place. I have it for you. I wrote it for you. So Trump's war, his battle for America, is the issue today. And I'm talking in this book, as I promised you that I would call for an investigation along the order of those that were done in the past from subversive organizations, because we're going to lose this country as sure as I'm standing here unless we go after the money. Always understand that nothing happens without money. When I was a young man, I didn't understand that. I couldn't understand capitalism inherently. I didn't understand it as a boy. I didn't understand how it worked. Until one day, I walked the streets of Queens, New York, and I don't know when it was. I don't know if I was even in college yet. I looked down at the pavement and I realized, wait a minute, somebody had to pay for the pavement. Somebody had to pay for the fire hydrant that I saw in the streets of New York. I didn't quite understand how that worked. In other words, everything costs money. Well, that includes subversive organizations who are undermining this country. They need money. They run on money. How in the heck can they be out in the streets while you're working? You ask yourself. They are working. That's their job, is to riot. Their job is to riot. Their job is to shoot off their loud mouths. Their job is to strip naked and scream about fascism. Their job is to paint themselves. Their job is to... I don't understand how you don't see this. They're being funded by organizations. So who are these organizations? These are the organizations I will ask Mr. Trump to investigate, because they are the brown shirts of George Soros, in my opinion. Just as the First Amendment does not allow the government to suppress dissent, it does not sanction using violence to promote one's message. Who wrote that? Me, Trump's war. It specifically protects the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Let me read that again, if you don't mind, because I'll do it anyway. Just as the First Amendment does not allow the government to suppress dissent, all you Marvins of the ACLU, you smart boy chicks from NYU and Columbia Law, all you smart Alex who know about the First Amendment, you think you wrote it? You think your grandfather wrote the First Amendment? It does not sanction using violence to promote one's message, Marvin. It specifically protects the right of the people peaceably to assemble, Harold, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And I wrote, and yet Obama and his cohorts in the media have repeatedly characterized the domestic terrorism perpetrated by groups like Black Lives Matter as peaceful protest, even when innocent bystanders have been assaulted, shops looted, and whole neighborhoods burned to the ground. My reference is reference number 16 if you want to look it up. When liberals of all races and creeds began rioting after Trump's election, Obama did the same thing. He actually stood on foreign soil and called the riots, quote, one of the great things about our democracy, close quote, reference number 17. I'm not fabricating this. This divisive serpent had become so arrogant, so unafraid of any consequences for the damage he'd done to this nation, that he would look into the camera and say outrageous things like that, knowing and adoring media would back him up. He had the media and half the electorate so hypnotized for 8 years that I don't doubt many people have trouble distinguishing his progressive fantasies from reality. Many well-meaning people no doubt believe that what we've seen over the past few years in Ferguson, Baltimore, New York, and elsewhere has something to do with free speech or the First Amendment. It doesn't. When you write an article or a blog, appear on a television show, or even assemble peacefully in a public forum meant for that purpose, you are exercising rights the First Amendment protects. But the moment you pick up a brick and throw it through a window, or join a mob blocking an expressway, which violates someone else's rights to liberty, or especially when you commit a violent act against an innocent bystander, you are no longer exercising your First Amendment rights. You are now violating the rights of others, something the First Amendment does not allow you to do, Marvin and Harold. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Hey, Dr. Michael Savage back with you. Let's talk for a moment about blood flow, just for a minute. We all know that healthy circulation is critical, especially as we get older. There's a natural way to support healthy blood flow, and that's by getting enough dietary nitrates into your body, which convert into nitric oxide. Super Beets is the easiest way to get these natural dietary nitrates. One scoop in water or a smoothie, and you're all set. This is the secret to helping support healthy circulation and healthy blood pressure levels. Super Beets works 3 times faster to give you results you can feel. Plus, it tastes great. You see, it's all about blood flow. I happen to take Super Beets. Every day I can feel the energy and stamina it gives me within 20 minutes. So call 800-481-0504. Write it down. That's 800-481-0504. Or go to SavageLovesBeets.com. That's SavageLovesBeets.com. Get a 30-day supply free. It comes with your first order. It is backed by a money-back guarantee. You're also going to get a free book called Beat the Odds and free shipping on your entire order. And listen, you love the results you feel with your first free canister guaranteed, or you get your money back, okay? 800-481-0504. There's a lot of other stuff in the news. I don't even know if you want to talk about it. Is Trump getting anything done? Small $200 drone shot down with $3 million Patriot missile. Drudge Report. Wait a minute. Talk about government expense? A $200 drone was shot down with a $3 million Patriot missile. Was this training? Let me see this story. Technology. A Patriot missile, usually priced at about $3 million, was used to shoot down a small quadcopter drone, according to a U.S. general. The strike was made by U.S. ally, said General David Perkins. That quadcopter that cost $200 from Amazon did not stand a chance against the Patriot. That's really great. Well, I guess that's the military-industrial complex at work. This is the Savage Nation at work. Contractor allegedly bribed top Navy officials with wild sex parties. That just came out. That is nothing new under the sun. Isn't that the way business is done? Let's see that story. The Justice Department unsealed a new indictment Tuesday, charging a Navy admiral and 8 others with corruption and other crimes in the Fat Leonard bribery case. Military personnel are accused of taking bribes from Singapore-based defense contractor Leonard Glenn Francis of Glenn Defense Marine Asia. Lavish gifts, prostitutes, and luxury hotel stays, blah, 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 blah. Isn't that the way business has always been done? I mean, is there something new about that? While visiting Port Manila in February 2007, Francis allegedly hosted a sex party for officers at the MacArthur Suite of the Shangri-La Hotel, aptly named, where historical memorabilia related to General Douglas MacArthur were used by the participants in sexual acts. That's sick. That's sickening. I don't even want to read the rest of the story. It's not even salaciously interesting. It's kind of disgusting. Let's see what's in the news over there. They're having a vote over there. They're having a vote over at Geert Wilders land. And I don't know if he's going to make it over there. I think the Dutch are so beaten up. You've heard of the Stockholm Syndrome. Well, after he loses, it'll be known as the Netherlands Syndrome. Because they want more Muslims to destroy their country. Good for them. That's so... I don't know how these things happen. How people give away their whole life like this. Trump's 2005 tax rate much higher than normal, even for the very, very, very wealthy. That's true. By the way, what do you think Warren Buffett pays? Trump paid 25%. Buffett boasted he pays 15%. So why doesn't the news media report that? Because it doesn't fit their lying, fake news agenda. $38 million, a lot of tax.
Savage.
So all anyone is talking about is Macho Red Cow and fake news. And I mean, admittedly, it shows the news for what it is, which is fake news. And what did you ever expect from Macho Red Cow? Did you ever take Macho Red Cow seriously? You know Macho Red Cow thrives on false news and fake news, so she puts out a story earlier yesterday that a historic story coming on Donald Trump's tax returns. Listen to clip 5. As Macho Red Cow built it up. Listen carefully.
These tax returns raise very interesting questions about how much the president's own proposed tax policies would improve his own personal bottom line. But they raise even more questions about what we haven't yet seen. Trump is the first president since the Watergate era to refuse to release his taxes of his own accord, which makes this release, who knows where it came from, both an interesting news development and potentially a historic one.
Yeah, historic for Macho Red Cow. Historic for you and your friends. What's historic is that NBC has no dignity left, and the peacock has lost its feathers. That's what's historic. Is that a network like Comcast can have a person like you on putting out false news and keep you on the air. That's the news, by the way. Even CNBC, a sister network, turned on you for putting out false news. It's sickening. Don't you understand that Rad Cow is now thriving on the publicity, and they think that bad publicity is good? Don't you understand it's just good for their ratings? They don't care what they do to people's lives. Savage says Republican traitors are blocking Trump. Book warns of dangers to presidency. Now that's the biggest story, but that's not getting the traction that Rad Cow is getting. I was on the Alex Jones show yesterday. Now people put him down. They say, oh, he's crazy, tinfoil hat, they're going to take him away in an ambulance. Meanwhile, his ratings are just booming. Booming. He's bigger than some big guys in radio, truthfully. And a lot of people follow him. I consider him to be a really good guy. So the headline on his site was Republican traitors blocking Trump on InfoWars. Ryan and McCain trying to save Obamacare from Trump. A civil war has started between patriots and neocons and government, says radio host Michael Savage. It's a civil war. Who's winning, though, is the question, Savage said on the Jones show Tuesday. We elected the president. We allegedly own the Senate. We have the House, and we're getting nothing done. No tax cuts, not a brick laid for the wall. What's been done? The immediate threat to Trump's America First agenda is the neocon wing of the Republican Party, like Speaker Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell, Savage noted. Savage said because they're obstructionists. The left wing of the Republican Party is impeding Donald Trump at every turn. Left wing of the Republican Party is the Democrat Party, Socialist Party USA, it's all one. They don't care about borders, language, or culture. All they care about is feathering their own nests and feathering the military-industrial complex with another endless war. The fake conservatives in the media should also realize that unlike Hillary Clinton, Trump actually supports the First and Second Amendment, Savage said. I can read more to you. You can link it up on InfoWars or right on the top of the Drudge Report. It's from there, and it's a great interview, incidentally. And thank you for driving Trump's war way, way up on the Amazon bestsellers list. It is in bookstores in America right now. It is the launch date was yesterday. We got a little rough start owing to the blizzard that wasn't, but I guess it kept people away from bookstores. The blizzard was the blizzard, like Trump's tax returns were going to destroy his presidency. Same thing. Fake news, fake meteorology, fake science, fake medicine, ersatz food. There used to be a word for fake. It used to be called ersatz in my day. But now no one knows what ersatz means, so we call it fake. It was known as ersatz. When was the news ever real? I knew one guy in my circle of friends who became a journalist. I do. He was a nice enough guy. I'm not putting him down, but he told me point blank that his first jobs as a so-called journalist was writing obituaries that he made up. And he made up every story he ever wrote. He said he had to meet a deadline. He'd make stories up. And that's what they published. They made stories up. Only in San Francisco do you see old liberals sitting around in cafes reading a newspaper like the Chronicle. They have their finger going down the page. You ever see those guys and the old women? The myopic people. They run their finger down the line like your grandmother used to read the Bible, chapter and verse. They run the finger down. If you haven't noticed, Trump's election, man. They read a chapter and verse like it's the gospel. It's all made up. And their whole opinion on life is based on fake news. Ersatz news. That's what it is. In Venezuela, a woman gave birth while waiting in a long supermarket ration line, Bernie Sanders and all you socialists. You get that? I guess you don't get that. South Asian men break woman's nose in anti-white race hate attack. Now, South Asian men is a convenient way of saying something else. That's how the liars in the media call Muslims in Britain. They call them South Asian men. They shouted racist comments and violently assaulted a 34-year-old white woman, a male companion, in an anti-white race hate attack in Coventry, England. When she tried to stand up to her abuser, she was struck so hard in the face that her nose and cheekbone were shattered. You see, that's what I mean by liberalism. These are the kind liberals. When they lose the argument, they go to violence. But that's the world that we live in. That's certainly and sadly the world that we live in. If you care to comment on any of these topics, you're sicker than I think you are. Two Russian spies were charged in a massive Yahoo email hacking. Now, I had a Bleeny the other day, and I guess that proves that I was talking to Russian ambassadors through the Bleeny, and I'll soon be investigated by the Department of Justice for colluding with the Russians. Watch out if you should have a Knish, because although a Knish is not really Russian in origin, it could be construed as so in the new Stalinism being conducted by the crazy people who think that everything Russian is bad. Why is it bad to talk to Russians? Can anyone explain that to me? When Obama first became president, we were getting along great with Russia. And I must remind you that Russia is our natural ally against radical Islam. In fact, as I reminded Larry King today on the radio, on the TV show that we did, and he is a liberal. I mean, he sat there and listened. I said, Larry, come on, let's be real. Obama did nothing against ISIS. He made a fake war against them. I said, it's the Russian Air Force that has ISIS on the run. They are our natural ally against radical Islam, Larry. But you can't talk to people who make their minds up. They're sure that they know things because that's the doxy. It's like a religion. Liberalism is a religion. It's also a mental disorder. And by the way, you know that for a fact because you've tried to talk to them and they won't listen to you. Well, will it be a Dutch treat? That's the question. Or we don't know. The Dutch are deciding whether to live or die. Either they vote for Geert Wilders, who has long seen the threat to the great nation that he was born in and lives in by the invasion of Muslims, or they will vote to commit suicide, and they will no longer be a people 20 years from now. Same thing here, no different here. Live or die, it's that simple. Trump's war, what do you think it's about? Now, the Republican traitors are the bigger problem. This is interesting. We know that the progs are blocking him at every turn. Schumer, of course, is an obstructionist. You'd expect that from a guy like him. That's all the Democrats do is block, 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 hate, 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 no, no, no. That you'd expect. The party of no. But when your own party blocks the president, that tells you more than you really want to know about the situation. But that's exactly what the situation entails. And I described the rhinos and the battle for America and such, and who they are. You know who they are. You think you know who they are? Yeah, say Ryan, Paul Ryan. You say Gobbler, whatever his name is, Mitch McConnell, the Gobbler from Kentucky with the gullet. But there are many others. What can we do about it is the question. There are lots of things we can do about it. McConnell wouldn't be in power were it not for us. Paul Ryan would be running a night basketball school somewhere were it not for us. There's a lot we can do. We're still a great nation. So the interviewer today says to me, isn't America great now? I said, it's the greatest country on earth. He says, well, aren't there other countries that are great? I said, no, not as great as this country. He said, what are you saying, America right or wrong? And no, I didn't say America right or wrong. I said something else. I said, well, why are you always saying America wrong and wrong? That's all that the progressives say, America wrong and wrong. Macho Radcow, America wrong and wrong and everything. America no good. CNN, America no good. America wrong and wrong. It's not America right or wrong. But they say it's America wrong and wrong, always wrong. And I'm sick of it. I want America back. I want America first. And Donald Trump does too. And that's why we're all fighting the same Trump's war together. You get it? If not, get the book. Maybe then you'll get it. What's at stake? Let's look at the Trump presidency from the top. Let's put aside healthcare for a moment. Many people are frightened right now that his entire administration is in trouble. I am not. I am not. This is what politics is all about, especially when you have an entrenched bureaucracy and an entrenched socialist Islamist machine that refuses to go away. They're not going to leave within 60 or 90 days. We didn't expect them to. Wars take a long time. These are the initial battles of a longer war. And you have to understand that the healthcare issue, while key to it all in some ways, is not the only battle that we're facing. We've already won 2 major battles, in case you don't know it. The military morale is way up. Our national security is way up. You have to understand there are priorities to things. And as I said to you several times, and I have to say it again, even if we only wind up getting 20 or 30% of what Trump promised during the campaign, that's 120, 130% more, at least, than we would have had if Hillary Clinton had won. I'll give you 2 examples so you don't think it's just hyperbole. First Amendment. Hillary Clinton said she would eliminate talk radio and websites she doesn't like with the so-called fairness doctrine. In Germany, a neo-Nazi who calls himself a social democrat. See, the neo-Nazis today are the social democrats. You don't know that. Never forget that Hitler was the head of a socialist party called the National Socialists. Today they are called social democrats. It's one and the same. And the Social Democrat Party, so-called in Germany, one of them actually said he wants to fine anyone who has a website that provokes hate speech in any way should be fined $50 million. This is not an invention. This is fascism, pure and simple. We would have lost our freedom of speech and freedom of the press in this country had that she-witch won. We have the First Amendment for the next 4 to 8 years. Why don't you count your blessings? All you backstabbers who stabbed them for it. You know, I love these people who stabbed them in the back for 9, 10, 11 months. They're never Trumpers. Then when he won, they suddenly became, they love Trump. Now that he's in trouble, they're stabbing him in the back again. Second Amendment, guns, over, not touching them. Hillary would have seized your guns one way or the other. So you have to look at the big picture and don't expect to get everything that you want. You're not going to do it. It doesn't occur in your life. It doesn't occur in a political campaign. It doesn't occur in a political administration. We are way, way ahead of where we would have been had she seized power. Do you understand that? But now the battle has just begun. The illiberal fascist left is on the warpath. They are beating people up with sticks and fists on the front lines of this fight. The time will come when they're going to face real men very soon. And then you're going to see something you don't want to ever see in this country. I'm not advocating it, I'm predicting it. Right, so the radical left lost, we won, and they started acting like though they can overturn the election. Every television show, every newspaper, around-the-clock anti-Trump hatred, it's nauseating. So here with my little radio show, I do the best I can. My assistant just said something interesting to me. He said, you know, I think I know why you're feeling differently about Trump's war. I said, why? He said, because it's a victory lap. It's not like your other books where you were fighting an uphill battle against the illiberal machine which is in control. You won. Your message won. And you're taking a victory lap. You're trying to get the people engaged. But the thing is, your energy's up because you don't feel like you're losing. You're winning. I said, maybe you're right. He said, America loves a winner. I feel like I'm on top of the world. I did win. My ideas have won. So just think about that. You are a winner right now. All you listeners, you actually won. They lost. Okay? So take a deep breath on that one. Be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Hey, Savage Nation, I've got big news for you. News you won't hear about anywhere else. A major economic event will take place on or before March 31st, which could have a devastating effect on every dollar you have invested or in savings. Did you hear me? March 31st. This global financial event presents economic danger for those unaware and an epic opportunity for those prepared. According to an urgent new Swiss America report, The Great Convergence of 2017, it is free. All you're going to do is call 800-289-2646. It's simple. You call 800-289-2646. I trust Swiss America. They've been with me from the beginning. Don't wait. Get the Great Convergence of 2017, a vital 6-page special report in time to take the steps necessary to protect your hard-earned savings and investments. Do it now. Why risk everything? Just call 1-800-289-2646, 800-289-2646, or visit SwissAmerica.com. What do you want to talk about? So let's stop with the cancer and the leukemia and the transfer death. I'm getting all depressed. I'm getting all dark. Horrible calls now. Terrible. Just horrible now. My mother died of this and my dog died of that. Don't ask what you can get. Can we have some fun today? Something nice? It's already Wednesday of Hell Week. It's going to be over. I can't wait to play the tape for you of the Larry King, and I had so much. I keep going on and on about him. And he has an unknown show on Aura Television, on RT Television. So I joked that he's a liberal. So during the interview today, I said, Larry, you were asking me about what if Russia hacked our election? You like that, Savage? I said, Larry, wait a minute. I ate a Blintz last week. Does that mean I'm a Russian spy? So he has a sense of humor. Okay, at least he can laugh. He had a good sense of humor. He owns a bagel store in Beverly Hills. He invited me to have a bagel with him. That's great. I said, why don't you open a bagel store in Romania? He said, that's anti-Semitic. I said, cut it out. He and I we have quite a rapport. We never met. The guy's 83 years old and he's still out there like a trooper. He's an inspiration to me. So I said to him, listen, hey, Larry, in Trump's war, I call for a way to save, Trump care. He said, what's that? I said, high-risk pools for high-risk individuals. He said, what do you mean by that? I said, Larry, come on, look at you. You're a guy 83 years old. You're fit. I can see you work out. I see you watch what you eat. Why should you pay the same premium as a junkie who abuses herself? Why should you pay this? He said, well, aren't they entitled to care? I said, no, I'm not so sure they are. I think they're entitled to a minimal amount of care, not a gold-plated kiss my behind care. Every minute, how are you today, Mary? Did you have your drug? Mary, you want to... It doesn't work. Mary doesn't work. All she does is score drugs. How are you? Gold-plated care. Who pays for this? What sane society on earth takes care of people who are trying to kill themselves? You want me to talk about cops who have to deal with suicide types? And when a cop has to risk his life to save them? You ever think what cops have to go through to save people who want to die jumping off a bridge? What, is a cop supposed to give his life for some lunatic? I'm not so sure. I'm a little on the Ayn Rand thing here, They want to go, let them jump. That's all. Stop with the hand-holding. Not everybody's entitled to gold-plated health care. So he says to me, well, what about if someone's walking across the street and gets hit by a car? I said, anyone who's hit by a car goes into an emergency room. That's a given. I'm talking about high-risk pools for high-risk individuals and high-risk professions. Pay higher premiums. No, he says, the government should pay for everybody's free health care. I said, Larry, stop already. Who's going to pay for that? They have the answers. See, they have the statements but no answers. They don't follow through on the thinking. And the beautiful part is a lot of these people are really well-intentioned, nice people. They mean well. But the road to nowhere is paved with good intentions.